How's it going, everyone? As we are winding down 2021, it is time to look ahead into 2022, and it's been pretty well documented that if everything stays intact, and really, it never does, but let's just say everything stays intact, early 2022 is looking to be an absolutely epic period of new game releases, especially on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. There are so many high-level games that are coming, and in this video, I want to take a look at 15 of the biggest games coming in Q1 of 2022. Now, there might be more games coming in that period just because sometimes games get announced and they come out relatively shortly after, or they officially get their release dates. You get the idea. But also, things on this list can get moved. If I had made this video a few weeks ago, something like Saints Row the reboot would be on the list. But that game has since, of course, been delayed and seen a significant delay on top of that. It'll be coming in August now instead of February, but nevertheless, still a lot of high-quality stuff to get into, so let's get right into it. And let's start off with what I think is one of, if not the biggest game for the PlayStation audience in 2022, Horizon Forbidden West. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn is finally getting its sequel. 5 years after the release of Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, we had the Frozen Wilds expansion to bridge the gap a little bit, but it'll be nice to get a brand new entry into the franchise. Zero Dawn definitely left a couple things up in the air, and there's a lot more to be told in Aloy's story, and I'm expecting a very story-driven game with a engrossing story and world, but at the same time, based on the gameplay we've seen of this game thus far, it seems like a lot more emphasis has been put into the gameplay and adding a lot of layers to the gameplay, adding variety from the new enemy types, new weapons, new gadgets. I do believe that's going to take the game a step up from the gameplay standpoint as well. I personally liked Zero Dawn from a gameplay standpoint, but I do know people that thought it was a little bit of a mixed bag. I think everybody would agree that Zero Dawn's narrative was absolutely top tier, one of the best of the generation, but with Forbidden West, if it can really come together as a complete package, I think it could be one of the very special PlayStation exclusives of really all time if everything goes right, and Guerrilla is an incredibly talented studio. I think they looked at what they did right with Zero Dawn, and they did a lot right with it, and with Forbidden West, they're just going to look to improve upon that, and hopefully it turns out well. It'll, of course, be coming to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 on February 18th. Next up, we have a game that definitely deserves a little bit more buzz around it, and that is Weird West. Weird West was a game that was announced a while ago, and then it kind of got, shuffled and went a little bit under the radar with every other big game coming, but it's coming from a studio known as Wolfeye Studios and published by Devolver Digital, and it's coming from the co-creators of Dishonored and Prey. The game notes survive and unveil the mysteries of the Weird West through the intertwined destinies of its unusual heroes in an immersive sim from the co-creators of Dishonored and Prey. Expect an action-adventure RPG-oriented game. Discover a dark fantasy reimagining of the Wild West, where lawmen and gunslingers share the frontier with the fantastical creatures. Journey through the story of a group of atypical heroes written into legend by the decisions you make in an unforgiving land. Each journey is unique and tailored to the actions taken. A series of high-stakes adventures where everything counts and the world reacts to the choices you make. Form a posse or venture forth alone into an otherworldly confines of the Weird West and make each legend your own. Intertwined destinies, bespoke experience, and immersive sim to round things out. A single-player RPG adventure here, and it is due out January the 11th. Next up, a game that got memed all to death when it was announced, but Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is dropping on March 18th. Look, we can talk about chaos all day long. I definitely got a laugh out of those meme videos, but the game itself is actually good. It's unfortunate that the trailer was just not doing the game justice, but if you play the demo, it looks to be a well-made Souls-like title. With the memory of their struggles buried deep in their heart, Jack and his allies Ash and Jed burn with resolve to defeat chaos as they throw open to the gates to the Chaos Shrine, yet doubts remain. Are they truly the warriors of light and the prophecy foretold? Step into a world of dark fantasy and revel in the exhilarating action-packed battles. Of course, the game is being done by Team Ninja, an incredibly talented studio, and based on what they've done already, This game is just a chock full of potential, and hopefully people will take into account that, you know, Team Ninja's doing it, and from that standpoint, it's probably going to be something remarkable given that they did an excellent job with Neo. Hopefully they can parlay that into a quality experience with Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. It's out on March the 18th. Next up, we have Gran Turismo 7. Yes, Gran Turismo will be finally making the transition into next gen. It'll be on PS5 and PS4, but it's dropping March 4th of 2022, and it's a game we've been waiting on for quite a while. I want to see Gran Turismo really reclaim the throne, or at least be a contender for the top racing franchise on consoles. Forza has seemingly taken that mantle with the consistency of the franchise. Now, truth be told, Forza has had Forza Horizon, which is more of an arcade series, so that sometimes gets jumbled up with Forza Motorsport, but Forza has been super consistent. Gran Turismo, I feel like, is still of a very high level, but with GT7, I think there's going to be a lot of buzz surrounding it based on the fact that it's the first PlayStation 5 release for Gran Turismo, and I think it could be something that people can really sink their teeth into. Gran Turismo 7 notes built on 22 years of experience to bring you the best features from the history of the franchise, whether you're a competitive racer, collector, fine-tuning builder, livery designer, photographer, or arcade fan. Ignite your personal passion for cars with features inspired by the past, present, and the future of Gran Turismo. Hopefully this is going to be a racing sim title that's going to have a lot of longevity throughout the entirety of the generation. It is a cross-gen game, again, on PS4, PS5, March 4th of 2022. Next up, we have a game that I am honestly pretty surprised is getting a sequel, and that is Elex II. Now, truth be told, I thought Elex I had a lot of potential, and I thought it had a lot of interesting aspects to it, but I didn't think that Piranha Bytes was actually going to get the green light to do a sequel to the game, but I'm very happy they are doing this. The game notes, in this sequel to the vintage open-world RPG, Alex Jax must once again unite the free people of the science fantasy world of Magellan against a new threat, the Skyans, who want to change the face of the planet forever. Now, the game has a very, very interesting setting. Truth be told, from a technical standpoint, it's not anything to write home about. It is on the PS4 and PS5, and it's probably more akin from a technical standpoint to a PS4 title, but that doesn't really matter. What I want to see out of this game is a gripping narrative, solid gameplay, and a world that you can get immersed into, and we'll see if they can deliver on that front. The game is out on March 1st. Next up, we have the psychological horror title in Martha is Dead. Martha is Dead is a dark, first-person psychological thriller set in 1944 Italy that blurs the lines between reality, superstition, and the tragedy of war. Do expect something on the darker end in terms of presentation. The game notes unshamedly authentic voice acting in Italian from the creator of The Town of Light. Deep and dark, multi-layered narrative, Martha is Dead is an exploration of loss, relationships, and the psychological undertones of a dark period of history through the eyes of a young woman who seeks the truth but who also has secrets of her own to hide. Explore a detailed recreation of the Italian countryside, play with dolls, mixing folklore with superstition, a backdrop of war as well. Collect newspapers, telegrams, and listen to the radio to keep updated on what is occurring in the world during the war, and virtual photographic greatness. If you're a fan of horror titles, and interesting ones at that, definitely want to keep an eye on. It's out February the 24th. Next up, Dynasty Warriors is getting its latest entry in Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, a new release in the Empire series featuring a mix of thrilling action and country capturing simulation. Explore the human drama of the three kingdoms in a way only Empires can provide. Fight exciting castle sieges and manipulate the country's politics. Welcome to the Empires experience. Obviously, these games are, you know, been around for a very long time. Tecmo Koei has carved out an audience of their own for them, and the game does note the combat has evolved from the battles of previous games into castle sieges that occur in the area outside each castle in an always changing environment. Use devious planning and military might to enjoy this new style of battle, where the biggest question is what's the best way to take this castle. The game is scheduled for a release in February of 2022. Next up, we have arguably the biggest game, not only of early 2022, I think some people would go as far as to say of all of 2022, and that is, of course, From Software and Bandai Namco's Elden Ring. This is one that's been a long time coming. When it was initially announced at E3 with that CG trailer, people were already excited. People had grandiose expectations, and then earlier in 2021, we finally got a gameplay drop of the title, and it looks very good. It looks like what a lot of people see as the apex of the Souls-like franchise. It looks like what a lot of people are going to see at this point, the apex of the Souls franchise by From Software and From Software's long experience working on these games. It looks to be even bigger than any of the games that they've done in the past. The new fantasy action RPG Rise, Tarnished, and be guided by grace to brandish the power of the Elden Ring and become an Elden Lord in the lands between. Explore a vast world where open fields with a variety of situations and huge dungeons with complex and three-dimensional designs are seamlessly connected as you explore the joy of discovering unknown and overwhelming threats await you, leading to a high sense of accomplishment. Expect that same level of challenge, but I would also expect an added level of exploration as this is bigger than any game that From Software has done in the past. Expect big boss battles, expect great presentation, and expect something that's epic in scale. I know this is going to be one that people drop everything that they're playing at the moment to just jump into this. Elden Ring will finally be out February 25th of 2022. And if there's one game that you could be assured is gonna be a slam dunk, given From Software's track record, I would probably put my money on Elden Ring, to be completely honest. Next up, we have Monark coming from NIS America, a brand new turn-based strategy JRPG. This is one that, if you're a fan of JRPGs, I would definitely have on your radar. I know we've had a lot of big JRPG releases over the last year, 2 years even. Persona 5 Royale, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tales of Arise, Scarlet Nexus. I can go on and on. Monark is not going to have as much buzz as those games, but it does look something of interest with more of a strategy-based gameplay style. Might be something right up your alley. The game notes, could you face yourself and the threats around you to save the ones you love? Shin Mikado Academy is engulfed in a madness-inducing mist, and only you can save everyone inside. Develop your ego to break the pacts by the pack bearers and remove the corrupting mist. The game is scheduled for a release sometime in Q1 of 2022. Next up, we have the King of Fighters 15. Yes, the King of Fighters is back with the latest entry in the franchise, out February the 17th. The game notes a total of 39 playable fighters at launch. Obviously, that roster is going to continue to grow and grow. King of Fighters story reaches its climax. The latest KOF saga continues from the previous title in story mode. This time, the story is coming to an explosive climax, the culmination of the series' battle system as well, inheriting the series' traditional 3-on-3 team battle. King of Fighters 15 also features the exciting new Shatter Strike mechanic, enjoying an unprecedented sense of speed and height fighting action. Easy and versatile online play as well, and packed with content is noted. Again, the game is dropping PS4, PS5 February the 17th. Next up, we have Sifu, which is a game that, honestly, a bit surprising to me, has garnered a bit of buzz since its original announcement. Now, the game is coming from Slowclap, the studio that also put out Absolver. Now, Absolver was a game that definitely was not perfect. It had some issues, but I really saw something there from a fundamental standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, that could evolve into something incredibly compelling, and it looks like Sifu is the evolution of that. Noted to be a beat-em-up action-adventure game played in third person, the game, which is inspired by Kung Fu, includes over 150 attacks. Basic attack moves can be chained together, and you can also have additional layers to the gameplay. Sifu is the new game of Slowclap, the studio that brought you Absolver, a third-person action game featuring intense hand-to-hand combat. It puts you in control of a young Kung Fu student on a path of revenge. Sifu is the story of that student on a path of revenge, hunting for the murderers of his family. One against all, he has no allies and countless enemies. He has to rely on his unique mastery of Kung Fu as well as a mysterious pendant to prevail and preserve his family's legacy. On the path of vengeance, adaptation is the way. Careful positioning and clever use of the environment to your advantage are key to survival. It looks like this game is going to have quite a bit of depth to its Kung Fu martial arts gameplay, so I'm excited to see how that is actually implemented and if they can execute it properly. We'll see how that turns out. Sifu is scheduled for release on February the 8th, and interestingly enough, this is one of those games that in rare history, we don't see it often, it actually got moved up from its release date. Development was going so well that they were like, hey, we can put it out a little bit early, February 8th, and I think that makes a lot of sense given that you come out a little bit earlier than Horizon, a little bit earlier than Elden Ring, might get the game a little bit more buzz again out February 8th. Next up, another major release, Dying Light 2 Stay Human. development. Finally, we're getting a follow-up to Dying Light. It's been 7 years. It's been like 8 billion re-releases of Dying Light. The Anniversary Edition is great. Go buy that if you haven't played it yet. But now, we get a true sequel with Dying Light 2 Stay Human. The virus won, and civilization has fallen back to the Dark Ages. The city, one of the last human settlements, is on the brink of collapse. Use your agility and combat skills to survive and reshape the world. Your choices matter. And that's been an element of this game that's been reiterated over and over again, that this is going to be a game that is going to have more emphasis on the decision making and choices. But at the same time, just from a scale standpoint, this game looks much bigger than the first Dying Light. I really hope that Techland delivers this one. It seems like there's been some muddied waters with the development. Got a couple delays, but hopefully by the time Dying Light 2 finally drops, it's going to be something to remember. It is out February the 4th. Next up, we have Cogen's Sword of Rewind. A smaller game here, but something that I think looks pretty cool. Cogen's Sword of Rewind notes rewind, rethink, redo. Cogen is a brand new kind of 2D action game where there's no time for depth. It definitely has a old school presentation style, but at the same time is incredibly colorful, and I feel like there's quite a bit of detail in it as well. The game notes awakening to find herself sprawled on a floor of hard steel. The first thing that greets Kohaku's eye is a strange talking sword named EXE Breaker. Unsure of where she is or what's going on, she agrees to this sardonic sword's proposal to join forces, and together they journey deep into the heart of a transformed city, once Kohaku's home. The game itself is very reminiscent of something like a Mega Man, and that's right up my alley, although, of course, more of a sword action game, but, you know, Zero's in Mega Man, so it all lines up nicely. A 2D action platformer dropping January the 26th. Next up, we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, a spin-off of Borderlands, a epic high fantasy take on the looter-shooter genre. Players can create and customize their own multi-class heroes as they loot, shoot, stash, and cast their way through outlandish monsters and treasure-filled dungeons on a quest to stop the tyrannical Dragon Lord. Bullets, magic, and broadswords collide across a chaotic fantasy world brought to life by the utterly unpredictable Tiny Tina. Of course, a lot of people are a fan of their Borderlands. Hopefully this will be a enjoyable take on that world, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is scheduled for release on March 25th. And lastly, we have Blackwind. Blackwind is a top-down sci-fi action game that puts you in the shoes of a teenager trapped inside a prototype battle armor suit during an alien invasion. Face off against enemies, cut through their ranks, and fight back to stop a planetary invasion. I've been asking for more mecha games for a long time, and while this may not be the big budget, you know, third-person action game that I truly want out of a mech title, it also still looks very good, and hopefully it can be something that I can sink my teeth into, because more mechs in video games I just think is a great thing. So we'll see how Blackwind turns out. It is dropping January the 20th, and that's gonna do it for me. Again, a lot of big titles coming in early 2022, and I would imagine that there's gonna be more games that get scheduled for that period. Maybe we'll see a delay or two, but some of the games that maybe could come out in early 2022, Aztec Forgotten Gods looks fantastic, Salt and Sacrifice, Stray, there's a lot of cool titles. Far Changing Tides, what about the Cyberpunk 2077 upgrade? GTA 5's getting an upgrade. Tried to stay away from mentioning a bunch of upgrades, but nevertheless, a lot of cool stuff dropping in early 2022. And remember, this is only, you know, PlayStation stuff that's coming out on PlayStation. Then you open the floodgates to things like Pokemon Legends Arceus and so many other big games. Might be a dire time for our wallets, but a great time for new game releases. You can even throw on Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction if you're excited for that. A lot of stuff coming. So that's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.